The hell are you supposed to be?
I'm vengeance.
Your will lies deep way under the surface, and like a fire needs coal in the furnace. This is your goal that makes it all worth it. This is your why that gives you your courage. Let's go. Thoughts can keep you down, pushing deep until you drown, or they can keep you up strong, focused on the now. Glass half full, or has it been emptied out? Well, that's all up to you and your mind. Do you doubt anything, everything, not a thing? Make my thoughts work for me, manifest what I need, what I want, what I see. I could be anything, I attract all the things that I see. I believe I'll achieve as I breathe in and out again and again. I don't doubt, I sit in a plan and I found out that I can execute if I'm...
Hi guys, it's Captain Multiverse. Welcome back to another video. So, last night we got the Peacemaker season finale. And thankfully it's not the series finale, but it is the season finale. Now, as you saw in my previous video, we talked about that we could get some really big cameos in this episode. And there were cameos of sorts, but nothing really huge. This finale more acts as a setup for the future of the DCU. And I will tell you, we'll talk through many plot points in this video. I was very disappointed in the Peacemaker Season 2 finale. I'm not worried about the future of the DCU. I just have a few questions. And I don't think, as much as I'm not a huge fan of the Snyderverse, I will say I think the Season 1 finale was better, because I think that you need a certain thing for your finale to really be good. And I think that we didn't get that grandiose feeling. And I understand why we didn't deal with Earth X or Chris and Keith and have an emotional payoff, but they clearly established in this finale and throughout the entire season that Rick Flag Sr. and Peacemaker have this giant beef, and we'll get to it more in the episode, but I really think they could have done something with that more. You could have had this great battle between these two. And I know Chris was depressed, but it's clear these two don't like each other, and they clearly established that they were enemies this season. But you should pay that off in writing. Also, the pacing of this episode was kind of off. And this season, while I do like season 2, I do think it suffers from some pacing issues, and I think it suffers from a main conflict, and it suffers from an actual main, it suffers with no crisis, no real stakes this season. Characters died, Argus was antagonistic-like, but then also, Rick Flag Sr., the writing for Rick Flag Sr. this season, I've been kind of disappointed with, because, and we'll talk about that more in the section of the finale as we go through this whole finale, but I really just, I don't know, this finale just wasn't it for me. I am excited about the teases of the DCU, and we'll get to all that, but before we get started, make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe, and let's get into it. So the Peacemaker Season 2 finale, we kick off with Chris in prison, and we see some flashbacks of what went down. We kick off right with what happened. So this episode is titled Full Nielsen. And some people thought, in terms of Easter eggs and stuff, that we could see Kent Nelson, that we were actually going to get Dr. Fate. Which, this is why our brains, work against each other. I think we overhyped this finale too much, and that's part of my issue with it. But I will say that there is also some actual issues with this finale as well. But, so that one is a big start, I think, that really kind of, really just kind of hurts everything. And I thought that was kind of disappointing that happened. But we started this off, we get to see what happened on the boat. We get to see Hardcore and Peacemaker first. They have a nice little chat at Big Belly Burger. We're seeing their relationship kind of flourish a little bit. And, that's what we've been building towards all season. So it's kind of nice. I liked seeing these two together. I liked the way they were played off each other. I think Jennifer Holland and John Cena do a great job of playing off each other very well. And I think they did a really good job with that element. And I really enjoyed that. Love how they used all the bands, all the music cameos here. Great to see Nielsen utilized here. Also, we get a Foxy Shazam cameo in here, which is great, as the song was iconic, and we get to hear that a couple times. So I love that played off. really beautifully, and I thought that was nice. And then we also get to see in the QC, we see Argus going to different dimensions, and so we get some teases of like other worlds, and there's a little bit of a zombie elements. You get to kind of see well, maybe a deceased storyline could happen in the future, but there was no real indications. We couldn't really see any element of that. There are 2 teases for the future of the DCU that we'll talk about later in this review. But so this finale, as we're going through, our characters are going through different things, different stuff's happening. Chris finally gets out of jail after telling everyone he doesn't want to see his friends because he thinks he's the angel of death. But then you get to see basically Economos, Vigilante, and everyone take the blood money from the basement after Adebayo basically tells John Economos, hey, or tells Vigilante he needs to be nice to his mom. Love how they've done with Vigilante this season. He's utterly hilarious, and we'll get to more about him in a minute. I think one of the other things is this episode, as we heard about many weeks previously, one of my favorite things about episode 6 was that episode belonged to Jennifer Harlan's acting, talking about her relationship with Chris, and that was beautiful. Episode 7 belonged to Chris, because his acting, or John Cena, because John Cena's acting in that episode was utterly incredible. Episode 8 belongs to Danielle. Daniel Brooks is incredible in this finale. Love it how we established the relationship between her and her wife, and basically how if you love something, you set it free. Such beautifully done acting. Great job, Danielle. I liked you in the Minecraft movie. This is by far your best stuff. Your serious work here was very good. And I was very impressed. I really liked how that played off. It was beautiful. I loved how that was handled. Brilliant stuff. Love. That's what love is all about, and I think that was really good. So we have Bardos kind of find out now after all these dimensions. We go to a stable dimension, and we find out that we tap into DC Comics, and we have truly found this Rick Flag Sr.'s plan is revealed to be salvation. And as he's talking to the government, him and Lex Luthor, who we know are partners, this has all been building towards them making this plan to build a prison for metahumans. And that's going to play into the larger DCU, which we'll get into more in a little bit. But Bardos doesn't like that. Sleeping next to him, she doesn't know how to feel. Then she meets up with Hardcore, even though they had their little beef this season. They end up going and discussing, hey, we also have something in common. Then she gets introduced to Adebayo, and we get girl power done in a much more refreshing way, handled very well, and I really enjoyed it. And then we all kind of make a play against Argus. So we go and sneak in to find out where Chris is, have a nice chat with Chris. He's still broken. He still rejects us. But then everything changes when Chris finds out from Hardcore after we get the whole backstory and everything. And that's when we get the Foxy Shazam cameo and see Hardcore loving life and everything. After she walked away from Chris when he kissed her because she was still so broken. We get this amazing moment where she admits to him that what they did and they endured together meant everything, and the 11th Street kids are back together again, but not before some other cool stuff happens. So the 11th Street kids get back together, and they take the money because Adebayo has enough money to open her own spy industry. Finally, what we've been building with all season, and it turns out that with Vigilante's money, we have now built Checkmate. Now, if you don't know, Checkmate in DC Comics is a very big organization that takes superheroes, turns them into spies, and uses them against evil leviathans, which we're going to touch on. I'll do separate videos for Salvation and for Checkmate explaining what they mean later this week. But for now, yeah, so Checkmate's coming. I believe this is James Gunn's secret show. I've made many comments about this with Rick Flag Sr. I think that this is going to be a big deal. This new show will involve multiple different superheroes, not only the Peacemaker cast, but others. But, this also is set up for Man of Tomorrow, as we know. What was, we have Checkmate sets up something beautifully new for the DCU. The other tease is, so after all that's said and done and everything's all happy, Chris wants to join his friends, but Chris gets kidnapped. But before Chris gets kidnapped, we have a beautiful moment with Eagly hugging John Economos. And James Gunn was very essential that we need to have this moment happen, because what's about to happen next is incredibly crucial. And So then what we get to see is Peacemaker gets abducted by Argus, and Rick Flag Sr. uses Argus to do what he's always wanted to do, get his revenge on Chris. And he says, quote unquote, to Chris, you know, this is what you get, you son of a bitch. You know, he's got his revenge. He threw him in Salvation. Now, Salvation is something that's tied into DC Comics where it could be a potential setup for the Legion of Doom. This is a metahuman prison that, as we know, now Lex Luthor and Rick Flag Sr. Has gone full villain, and now he wants to do Lex Luthor's plan, and he wants to use full metahumans, which is something I have an issue with, because this is very kind of out of character for Rick Flag Sr., unfortunately, from what we saw in Creature Commandos. I mean, he was an idiot in Creature Commandos, but here he thinks he's smarter than Lex Luthor, and that's not going to pay off very well for him. But so Chris is trapped in Salvation. This is a big setup for Man of Tomorrow. I don't know what it's going to take yet, but I do think that Chris will be saved in Man of Tomorrow and be incorporated into a big superhero team, and Checkmate will probably play a role in that as well. But I also think we're going to get a Checkmate show as well. And we'll do separate videos on explaining Checkmate as well as Salvation. But these are pretty cool teases for the DCU. There are some end credit scenes, but they're not really that memorable. In Checkmate, we, alongside Adebayo, Chris, John Economos, and Vigilante, alongside Peacemaker and Hardcore, we also get the addition of Judo Master, Bordeaux, and of course, Fleary. So we have a cool team here. And one of the things I can't wait for in this Checkmate show, if it ever happens, is the comedy gold we're about to get with Vigilante and Flurry is great. They're both on the same level in terms of their facts of animals and different things, and their comedy together is going to be amazing. I love that scene with them. The ending is shocking. We get the cliffhanger where he ends, where Chris is stuck in Salvation, which could play into Man of Tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see what happens. So anyway, so that's everything that happened in the finale. My thoughts on the finale: it doesn't feel very grandiose. It doesn't feel worthy of a finale. This feels more like an epilogue. The first, I'd say episode 7 felt more like a finale. I know people said that we didn't need Keith to come over here, but they should have done something with Rick Flag Sr. and people that showed maybe like a final fight, like a grandiose feeling that really made it feel like a true finale. For me, this is a good episode of Peacemaker. Not a great ending to this story in Season 2. And Season 2 had some really good stuff. 1 through 7 I thought was really good. Episode 8, unfortunately, didn't land the way I wanted it to. I'm going to give Peacemaker Season 2 a 9 out of 10. But I'm going to give Peacemaker Season 2 finale Full Nelson a 7 out of 10. It just, unfortunately, didn't land the way I wanted it to. I wish it was a better finale. I still love the show. I can't wait for the future of the DCU. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Are you guys excited for what Checkmate brings and other DC projects? Did you love the Peacemaker finale? Did you not? Let me know your thoughts. I was disappointed, but I hope you guys enjoyed my review. And I'm being honest, I'm not a full gun fanboy. I'm giving a fair opinion, and I was underwhelmed by this finale. I liked the teases, but really, nothing else, nothing really happened. It didn't feel very much grandiose or like a proper finale. But anyway, guys, make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe, and share your thoughts on the Peacemaker finale in the comments below. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.